Family history is so cool. It is the sum of who you are. You are a product of a whole bunch of ancestors. And so I want you to think about your personality, your eye color, your smile, your sense of humor. There's just so much that goes into DNA. Your trauma, the way you respond to trauma, there's just a lot of things that are actually inherited that we're finding now. I want to tell you a little bit about some matriarchs in my life. Let's start with this one right here. This grandma here was a farmer's wife. She was a really intelligent woman. She went back to school to go be a teacher later on in her life, but she lived on a farm. And on that farm, they found an arrowhead. And I don't know if this is from when people lived there peacefully before, the native folks from that area, or if it was maybe people coming from the Cherokee Trail of Tears because they came through that farm. There's a lot of different places or people that this could have come from. But this is a treasured item in my home because it's another part of my ancestry, which I'll tell you about in a second. This is my grandma, Mary Me. That was actually her name, Mary Me. There's a lot more about her story in chapter 3 of my book, Who Am I? A Deep Dive Through Spiritual Wounding to Identity. She's holding my mother, and that's a picture of my mother up there, and you've met her in previous videos because she just authored another book called My Inward Journey, and her last name is Sheila Me. And then we have two great-grandmothers, and here's why they're important. So Josephine is this one right here, closest to me. That's Mary's mom. Her story is also in chapter 3. Part of her story is in chapter 3 of my book. And next to her is my paternal great-grandmother. She is actually part Cherokee. It's possible that her ancestors dropped off the arrowhead on the farm of my other grandmother's farm, what became her farm. Family history, it's messy. And if you read my book with chapter 3, you're going to find out some pretty important things that happened that impacted us even to this day. So trauma history impacts us today, but so does their way of looking at things, their way of looking at people. There's so much that we inherited from that part of the family too. So I just wanted to give you a little glimpse of my family history, the matriarchs of my family, and I'm curious about yours. Do you know much about your family history? Do you know much about the people who came before you and things that mattered to them and things that didn't matter to them? It's likely that some of the stories of the notorious things lived on, and some of the stories of the beautiful things may have not, or vice versa. But I promise all of our stories have a little bit of everything. And the cool thing about being us is that we can heal from everything that was notorious, and we can learn from that for the future generations, so our kids don't have to grow up with the same trauma story, and they can have different body responses, so we can help them with that. So we have some work to do as far as family history goes in exploring how our family history impacted us and how we need to heal so that we don't move it forward to the next generation. That's kind of a big deal. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.